If you want the cheat sheet, he crafts weekly while burning the midnight oil, then listen up. It is our Hall of Famer. There he is, Michael Fabiano. It starts, sits for Week 14. And Fabs, these are big ones. Yeah. Do not make a misstep. The fantasy playoffs have begun. So get us started with some Thursday night start sits.
Yeah, and it's my team against your team as well in a must-win. So I'm going to go with Dak Prescott as a start. I'm getting a lot of people on Twitter who are asking me, should I play Dak against Chicago? Well, if you look at the numbers, the Bears have actually given up 2 touchdowns each to Daniel Jones and David Blau over the last 2 games. And oh, by the way, Dak Prescott is averaging more fantasy points per game than Patrick Mahomes. So I'm playing him. I'm also playing David Montgomery. He's seen 15-plus touches in each of his last 5 games. He's clearly the featured back for the Bears. And running backs have had 121 touches against the Cowboys over the last 4 weeks. What does that mean, Money? Teams are running the football on Dallas.
Yeah, and then you also, listen, it's important to slide those folks into the starts, but it's also important to make the tough decisions to sit some folks that maybe you drafted high going into this one.
It is. And, you know, we hear everybody talking about how well Mitchell Trubisky is playing. But let's put that into context. He's played the Lions twice and the Giants. That's not very good. And if you look at his numbers overall, he's 25th among quarterbacks in fantasy points per game, and the Cowboys are giving up fewer than 15 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, so Trubisky is a fade for me. I'm also fading Michael Gallup. He's had fewer than 80 receiving yards in 7 straight games, and the Bears have given up 2 touchdowns and the second fewest fantasy points to receivers on their home field. So this is a tough matchup for Michael Gallup. I would keep him on the sidelines.
And Thursday Night Football is always a little nerve-wracking when it comes to the fantasy playoffs, especially knowing what it can mean for your week. If you sit someone you shouldn't, if you start someone that you should not have. So let's expand this conversation to the week as a whole and a start and sit of the week.
Yeah, I love Kirk Cousins this week. And why? Well, he's playing at a high level, and he's playing the Lions this week. And if you remember, they played each other a couple of weeks ago, and Cousins had nearly 30 fantasy points. So if Kirk Cousins is on your roster, unless you have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, maybe Russell Wilson, this guy needs to be in your starting lineup. My sit of the week is Drew Brees. Now, let me give you a few points here. Number 1, Brees is coming off a stinker on Thanksgiving where Taysom Hill scored more fantasy points than he did. He ranks just 18th among quarterbacks in fantasy points per game, and the Niners have given up the second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. The quarterbacks who have beaten them, mobile quarterbacks. We've seen Kyler Murray do it, of course, Lamar Jackson as well. Drew Brees, not mobile, don't trust him. I am sitting him. I would play Ryan Tannehill over Drew Brees this week.
I like that, especially against Oakland. All right, There you go. Fabs in the postseason in many of his how many leagues, real quick, Fabs? How many?
12 leagues, 11 postseason berths.
There we go. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. All right, Fabs, we appreciate it.